2 years ago, I had a burnout. I had to quit my job, and back then I didn't know what I was experiencing was burnout. After quitting my job, I felt really lost. Lost in a sense where I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. The life that I've built living in the city for almost 16 years was wasted for nothing. That's what I felt at that time. All I had with me was my faith. And this time, I made sure that I strengthened my faith to God and to whatever He is doing. But back then, you don't think about these things. I was crying. I was crying every day. I was purging those energy. But at the same time, I was also praying. For 2 months, I isolated myself. I didn't want to see anyone or to share it with anyone because no one really talks about it. I don't think anyone would understand at that time. So I had to isolate myself for me to have clarity, to reflect, and to navigate what was going on inside me. Everything was crumbling down physically, mentally, psychologically, and spiritually. But for 2 months, I work out, I eat well, healthy. I didn't go out. I pray night and day. And so after 2 months, it led me to the decision of moving to an island. But it was terrifying. I was doubting myself a lot, what I'm gonna do with this small island. I love being in the city, this big city. For me, it was a hate and love relationship, but it was my home for nearly 16 years. It was my comfort zone. It gave me stability and comfort. So moving to a tiny island was somehow navigating a different way of life. I was scared, but I still did it. And when I set foot on this island, it was really calm. I felt home. Everything, even though I've never been to the island, felt so familiar. Maybe it's the energy or the simplicity, but there's something inside me that just clicks. What started as a healing journey for burnout became a journey of remembrance, of letting go, of surrendering. Remembrance, because being here gave me that space and the time to remember my essence as a feminine energy. Whereas living in the city, I didn't have the time to self-reflect that I was operating from my masculine energy, which was normal if you're in the city because it's all about hustle and grind. You're constantly being pulled to a lot of notifications for you to perform in terms of your job, in terms of physical, you are constantly in motion. It never stops. And being here, I had to learn to slow down, to really lean in with my feminine essence, which is slowness, which is honoring my rhythm, honoring my cycle, and being one with nature. And being close to nature gave me that environment where it's calm, peaceful, and quiet. It was necessary. When you have a burnout, you don't have much energy to extend, even to speaking with someone or to a random stranger. When you have a burnout, the first thing that goes off is your libido. And during this time, the first thing that happened to me when I set foot on this island, I quit alcohol, and I have been celibate for the past 2 years ever since I got here. I didn't plan any of it. Coming here, I didn't have any concrete plan or any expectation. All I know was that I followed my faith. I have this faith that I know that if I have God, I'll be okay. And following the signs and my intuition, in a way, me being here stripped me off this urgency. Maybe it's the island remembering me, or being here, I remembered who I was before the program, before the noise, before the city. And it stripped me off all those programmings that I inherited living in the city. I realized that I really enjoyed living a simple life and not having checked any notifications and not getting dragged with so much distractions, with traffic, with the noise. Here I wake up listening to the birds and the wind. In the city, you wake up with an ambulance noise and you wake up so much urgency. Here I wake up without an alarm. In the city, you always need to have an alarm. So all these little things for me impacted my way of operating, my way of viewing things. And during the span of my first year here, I felt so much relief and I felt so grateful because for the span of 1 year, I learned so much than what I've learned in the city. And what I love most also is it's a community-based, hard-led culture that it's so alive with its tradition. And being here just makes me feel so proud to be a Filipino. Not in the grandest way of things, but this is what we are back in our ancestors, where we're meant to live in a harmonious way with our neighbors, with our community, coexisting, co-creating together. For me, it's one of an important part of my healing. It wasn't about in some grand way of things, but my healing was about just remembering. I remember when I was a kid, my mother would always say that I am slow-mo. I asked her slow-mo why. She would make jokes that you are slow-mo. Then I remember that I slow-mo because I move so slow. And when I was in the city, I lost touch of that. I was always in a hurry. And here, it gave me that space to remember that, oh, the young Beryl was not in a hurry. She was a slow-mo. So I remember. And for me, slowing down is a form of medicine itself. We are not meant to be in a hurry. Hurry for what? Here I learned to honor eating my food slowly, waking up slowly, having to do my chores and my day-to-day life slowly. Although I love being active, I learned to balance slowness and having these activities. Being close to nature gave you another way to see things in a more profound and anchored way, going back to who we are in our essence as humans, that we are not meant to be constantly in the grind. We are not meant to constantly browse. We're meant to create. We're meant to experience life in an harmonious way. I felt so blessed that I listened to my intuition, and I leaned in with my faith, because if I was operating from an ego driven way of seeing things, I wouldn't moved here. I wouldn't have listened. I would say, I'm just gonna find another job. This burnout is just, you're just gonna go out there, and after 2 weeks with numbing yourself with all these distractions, with entertainments and novelty, along the way it's gonna get better. But my soul was telling me the other way. No, there's or it was guided by God that surrender to me. And there's another life out there. You have no idea. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I was humbled enough to listen and to answer.